Conditioning, right? Welcome to Animation Academy, everyone. My name is Darren, the Disney artist here today. Now, as you all were entering, you were all greeted by my awesome friend Mia. Everyone say, hi Mia. Hi Mia. Mia's going to be here to help you out. So if your pencil does happen to break here, just reach out nice and high. Either myself or Mia, we're more than happy to help you. Mia's also up there to show you your exit doors if you need to leave the class for any reason. Just give that door on the far right a great big push, just like she's demonstrating there. And it will lead you right back outside to our courtyard. Now, the character that we are going to be drawing in this class is a character in honor of our D100 celebration. Here at the Animation Academy, we actually handpicked different characters from films that made over the past 100 years. And for this class in particular, we're going to be focusing on my favorite era, the 90s. And we teach you all how to draw a little lion cub who just can't wait to be king. Can you guess who we're drawing today? Simba, yes. Now for any of my new timers here though, you might have noticed that your pencils are missing an eraser. That's because here at the Academy we draw in a style called rough sketching. What that means is we're going to be starting off by drawing very light, really rough and sketchy. And as we start to get in those details, we're going to go back in later to darken in the lines that we want to keep. With all that being said though, are you folks ready to draw a lion today? Yeah! Excellent. To get us started with our portraits of Simba, he's going to start with a basic shape, and the shape's going to be the circle of life. And so right towards the middle of our paper, we want to draw in a circle about the size of a baseball, or even an orange is a good size here as well. And as you can see here, I'm just keeping this circle very light, really rough and sketchy. Just sort of building up my shape with lots and lots of curved lines here. And once you've got your shape in place, we're going to go about halfway down our circle, and just very lightly, we're going to sketch across this horizontal guideline. So right now, it should look like we have the epic sunrise from the beginning of our film sitting on our paper. So right now, you should be hearing that. Once you got this line in place, we want to go ahead and build up a foundation for the front of his head, as well as his ear here. And we'll start with the ear first, going towards the right-hand side of our circle, and towards the top of our shape here. So we're going to lightly extend out a rainbow, curving this to the right-hand side. And from the end of this rainbow, we're going to bring down this letter C curve, and we'll pull this right through our guideline. Then from the bottom of this curve, we'll bring this right back into our circle by stretching out a letter U here. So right now it should look like we just drew in this backwards letter C kind of sitting here on our paper. And we'll go back in just a moment, really add in the details to his ear. But to build up the front of his face, we're going to go to the left-hand side of our circle. And just above our guideline here, I'm going to extend down just a short diagonal line, pulling this to that guideline. Then from the end of this line, we're going to follow the curve of our circle, really just bringing down this very light letter C. And finally, to close off the bottom of his little snout, we'll go ahead and connect this right back to our circle here, just stretching out a letter U. And this will give us what we call our silhouette for Simba. He's looking slightly familiar now. And so the first little bit of detail we're going to work on for our lion is going to be his ear here. He does have an upper fold to the top of his ear, and so we're going to go right below this rainbow here. And we're going to add in what we call an S curve. And so this is really just a stretched out letter S that I'll lightly build up. And I'll go stretching this letter S to the edge of his ear on the right-hand side. Then with that fold in place, he does have this area towards the back of his ear that's that darker shade of brown. And so to show that separation in the colors, we're going to go from the end of our letter S. And I'm going to follow that same curve of his ear right on the inside, just another stretched out letter C. And as I reach my guideline at the bottom, we'll close this off here, just stretching out a letter U. Now, on the inside of Simba's ear here, he does have some little hairs on the inside. And so you want to go right on the inside of this space, and we'll add in 3 little curves, just to give ourselves that little fur there. When Disney was trying to think of a working title for this film, they originally wanted to call this movie King of the Jungle. But as they were doing their research, they realized that lions don't really live in the jungle. And so to keep the title nice and simple, they decided just to call this film The Lion King. Now that we got those details in place, I'm even going back in here, doing what we call locking in our lines. We're just really making this nice and bold. If you do want to add in some shading, and this back part of his ear is that darker shade of brown. And so I like to go back in with the side of my pencil, really use it as a crayon, and I'll lightly shade in this little area here. But now that we've got the details for his ear in place, next piece you want to work on for Simba is going to be the front of his face. Really work on his snout here. And so we're going to hop to the left-hand side, and we'll start to open up his mouth here, going from this top left corner of our little rectangle. And I'm actually going to carve into my shape now, really just bringing down this little curve. And I'll even darken this in, just so that you can see that we're not going to be needing that bit of our rectangle on the side anymore. And from the bottom of this curve, we'll really close off the upper part of his jaw, just stretching out a letter U. Bring this right back to our circle. Then to open up his lower jaw here, from that letter U, I'm going to bring down another hill. And so this negative space should look like we just drew in this little shark fin. Then from the bottom of the shark fin, we can close off the bottom of his jaw, just bringing another curve down to the bottom of our rectangle. And we can even lock in our favorite line here at the bottom too. Now with Simba being a lion, we are going to be seeing a little tooth poking out from right outside of his mouth here. And so you want to go to this lower jaw and add in this little rounded triangle, big little candy corn for his tooth. But you want to make sure that you keep this fang really nice and round. We don't want to give Simba any sharp points or angles. We save those sharp points and angles more for our villainous characters. And Simba's no villain, he's not like his Uncle Scar. But now that we got his smile in place, next feature we want to add in for our lion cub is going to be his nose here. And so to add in that nose at the top of his snout, we're going to go to the top of his upper jaw. And I'll go a little ways down from this corner. And I'm going to turn this really into this very small rectangle. And since we are seeing Simba in this side profile, we're only going to see about half of his nose from this perspective. And so we're going to go to this top left corner, and we'll bring down half of a rainbow on the inside. And this lion cub does need to be able to breathe, and so to give Simba a little nostril, we're going to go to the inside of his nose here. And you want to add in a small little rainbow on the inside. And just to show that we are seeing the inside of his nose, we're more than welcome to go back in here and shade this nice and soft too. Now, when it comes to Simba's fur color in the film, a majority of him is that bright golden yellow, but his snout and his belly is that lighter tan color. And so to show that separation in his two colors there, we're going to go to this bottom left corner of our circle, and just like how we built up the fold of his ear here, we're going to turn this into a stretched out letter S curve, really just closing off his jaw now. Now that we've got that separation in place, to really complete the rest of the shape of Simba's head, we're going to flatten out the front of his head just a bit more, going towards the left-hand side of our circle, just above his snout here. And I'll go ahead and flatten out this left-hand side, really just bringing up a diagonal line. And from the top of our circle here, we do need to give Simba some hair at the top. And so we're gonna go right to the top of our circle. And for that fur of his, you want to draw in some thin triangles, think little blades of grass to the top of his head. And a safe number I recommend for his hair is about 3 or 4 of these little triangles. I find if you give him one too many, he'll start to look like Kovu from The Lion King 2. But if you don't add in enough, he'll look too soft, then you'll end up with like Nala on your paper. So safe number, about 3 or 4 little hairs at the top of his head. So now that we've got his entire head in place, now's the time for us to really bring this lion to life. And so when it comes to adding in Simba's eye here, he has what we like to call a character mask. That's going to be that little shape that wraps around his eyes here. Pretty similar to Stitch's mask as well. And I like to think this next shape really like we're drawing this very big egg, or you can even think of this as an avocado as well. Ooh, an avocado. Thanks. Speaking of Simba's Uncle Scar, he was voiced by the very talented Jeremy Irons. Now, when Jeremy Irons was recording his song Be Prepared for this film, when it came to the end of the song, when he says, you won't get a sniff out of me, when Jeremy Irons recorded that line, he actually ruined his voice, and he couldn't finish up the rest of the song. And so they had another voice actor come in, a man named Jim Cummings, who's known for voicing Ed the Hyena in this film, and he actually finished up the rest of the song there. So if you go back and really listen to Be Prepared, you can very subtly tell the differences in the voices. And Jim Cummings is like one of Disney's besties. He's known for voicing many other Disney characters as well, but his claim to fame is actually a little teddy bear who lives in the 100-acre wood. Guess who that is? Winnie the Pooh. So he voices Winnie the Pooh and Tigger too. Once you got that egg shape in place, we do want to give Simba an eyebrow here. And so we're gonna go to the top of our little egg, and we're gonna thicken at the top just a little bit more here. But Simba very much is a product of the 90s. He's gonna have this pencil thin brow. You don't wanna make this too thick. You know, he's not about that 2023 life. And once you got the eyebrow nice and thick, to build up Simba's eye here, we're gonna go to the inside of our little egg shape, and we're gonna build up that same shape on the inside, just really making this about half the size here this time. And when Disney was doing the research for The Lion King, they actually sent some of their animators to Kenya, and it was on this trip where the animators really studied a lot of the animals that they included in this film, really studied their behavior and how they moved as well. And in addition to that research trip, they also had a wildlife expert bring some of these animals into the studio as well. And some of these animals included an actual lion cub, as real as a full-grown lion too. So can you imagine being an artist working on that film? One day just coming into work, big lion in the middle of the room. Pretty wild stuff. Now, once you got the shape of his eye in place, what I've done here to the top is just thickened up the top of his eye a little bit more, just to give him more of a little lash line there. But we don't want to leave Simba like this here, otherwise he's going to look like he's seen some things. He probably stepped out of the elephant graveyard again. And so to really wake him up with that pupil towards the front of his eye here, we're going to draw in a small little oval. And now leave and go back in here, really shading his eye nice and dark on the inside too. Now his character mask does have two different tones to it as well. And so we want to go to the corner of his eye, and we're going to close off this little space, just adding in this little triangle here in the front. Then towards the back of the eye, I'll close off this corner with a short diagonal line. And we're almost finished with our sketches of our lion cub here. The last little bit of detail we need to add in is a definition for his jawline and his neck here. And so we're going to go to the bottom of his ear, and we'll add in this upside down letter L, just to give him more of his jaw there. Then to give him his neck, just so he's not a floating head, we're going to go to the bottom of his ear. We'll stretch out a curve to the right. Then from right below his jaw, here, one more curve to the right as well. And once you've got that in place, with him being a cat, he definitely needs some whiskers as well. And so in this upper jaw portion, his whiskers are just 3 quick flicks of the pencil. 1, 2, 3. Instant lion cub. And once you got those whiskers in place, that's going to be the last step that you need for sketches of your lion here. So this is the time in drawings when you want to go back in, do some touch-up work, really darken in any lines that might have faded away in the drawing process. I'd love to stand out nice and dark. If you do want to channel your inner Rafiki, what I like to do is take the side of my pencil, rub some graphite on his forehead, take my thumb, and go Simba. Once you got all of that in place, really the last mark any artist truly needs to leave on their work before it's complete though, are gonna be your signatures. So make sure you do find a spot somewhere next to your drawing here. And go ahead and sign big and proud, because you have just learned how to draw your very own portrait of Simba. All right, now in the end, did you all have fun?
Yes.
Yes, and that's the most important part about drawing. Just really having fun here.